welcome to this edition of TrueFire Live. Today we have, and this week we have in the studio, Brooks Robertson. Man, this guy can play guitar. We've been following Brooks since he's, I don't know, 12, 13 years old. We met him at the Chet Atkins convention. Today, I can tell you that he's one of the young masters of fingerstyle leading the charge. Buster B. Jones, quote, "The future of American fingerstyle guitar." When you hear him play, I think you'll agree. But I've got to read you some of these other quotes. Who better than his peers to tell you what he's all about? Tom Bresch. Brooks Robertson plays like the house is on fire. Lee Ritenour. Robertson. Brooks has a very original touch and sound, plus monster chops. He's always making great music with his guitar. I'm sure Brooks will be sharing his music with the entire world and have an incredible career. I love this one from Noki. Remember this one? He's slicker than a cat on a greased pole.
I love that one.
Yeah. And the list goes on and on of really, all these masters recognizing the talent that you bring to fingerstyle guitar. Do you remember when we first met? It was a Chet Atkins convention. You were
probably
how old
2004,
then?
I think. I was probably 14 years old.
14 years old. And you were a protege. Buster B. was your mentor. And I remember the first time I saw you, you were up playing, I don't know if you remember the tune, but you were playing, then he got up on stage, and he was doing the right hand while you were doing the left hand, or vice versa. Do you remember what tune that was?
Yeah, it's a tune called Live at 5. It's a song of his, and he would do that, and he'd come up and he would play the right hand, he would take his left hand and cover my eyes so I couldn't see.
That's right.
I mean, luckily it was the easy part on the left hand, and I knew what was coming up.
Oh, it was so amazing, man. Do you remember that tune at all?
I do. I mean, it's in a different tuning.
Yeah. Okay.
But I can do it at some point.
Let's do it at some point, okay? So you're here. Man, it's been way too long since you've been back.
I'm so glad to be here at the new studio.
New studio, new digs, the whole thing. You've moved to Montana.
Yep, to Bozeman, Montana.
Yeah, do a little fly fishing out there.
Just a little bit, like
Yeah.
6 days a week or something.
Yeah, I know our director of education, Jeff Sheets, who I hope is listening, is green with envy because he's he's really a master fly fisherman. He's got some property out there in Montana, wants to move there. But let's tell everybody the first course you did here was Fingerstyle Survival Guide.
The Fingerstyle Survival Guide.
Right.
Yep. And actually, that tune I just played is one I wrote called Jonesin, kind of it's a tip of the hat to Buster Beat Jones, so Jonesin. And I taught a good chunk of that in that course in the Fingerstyle Survival Guide.
You did. Do you can you play another Buster Beat in this tuning?
Yeah, I'm just in standard. Yeah, I can play one of Buster's
Let's
tunes.
say hey to Buster. Play him a tune, man.
This is one he wrote that's called Just Another Rag.
Okay, great. There you go. We should hip folks to that Chet Atkins convention. It's called, people call it CAS, right?
CAS, but it's the Chet Atkins Appreciation Society, and then it's the annual convention, which is coming up next month in July in Nashville.
Tell them a little bit about what that is all about, because most people don't have a clue, and it blew our mind. We met you there.
Yeah.
We met Tommy Emmanuel there, Stephen Bennett, Yasho Stefan, Richard Smith. Describe that, would you?
Yeah, absolutely. So I believe this year coming up is the 35th annual year. And before there was the Chet Atkins Appreciation Society, there was the Chet Atkins Fan Club. And then when the fan club it was either ending or it reached a certain size, I can't remember what it was, it transitioned into the Appreciation Society. And so when Chet was still alive, he started having sort of these concerts and additionally workshops as well with himself and Jerry Reed and John Knowles, Guy Van Duzer. A lot of great fingerstyle players would come together. And over the years, it grew bigger and bigger and bigger, and more players. And then after Chet passed away, it still continued to go on, and now it lasts 4 days. It's in Nashville, Tennessee, at the Music City Sheraton Hotel, and basically you have music, fingerstyle guitar music, all day long for 4 days. There's about 4 different stages going on full time. I mean, amazing concerts. Plus, there's workshops, there's clinics, and it all happens in one place there in Nashville. The website is called chetsociety.com. Has more information. It's not too late for people to go this year.
And it's super affordable. I mean, I will tell you, you get, if whatever style of music you play, whatever style, you get unbelievable bang for your buck in terms of who you get to see there and who you get to experience.
Yeah.
We went, I guess, it was probably 2004, and I forget who, tipped us to do, but we are still reeling from it, and we probably over the years have established, I don't know, dozens of relationships, and all literally the world's most accomplished, greatest fingerstyle guitar players across a range of styles gather there to celebrate the life of Chet.
Yep.
And I mean, it's like up close and personal. You just sitting like I am sitting with you, hearing incredible music, right?
Yep. And I mean, as a player, as a young player too, like I went there with Buster B. Jones for the first time, but the same thing. The people that I met there have been lifelong friendships, and as a musician too, other opportunities, and just the main thing too, I think, is just I get so inspired every year that I'm there, just to revisit Chet's music, but also to see all these, I mean, amazing players from around the world is pretty phenomenal.
It really is. Did you started out? You didn't start out on fingerstyle. Did you play electric first? And
No,
then
I pretty much started on fingerstyle when I got. I mean, my dad plays a guitar.
Yeah.
I think one of the first things he showed me was this kind of. Can't even do it now. Showed me how to do this. I knew a few chords when I was just probably 9 or 10 years old. I played with a friend of mine, Karsten. He was a bass player, and we used to jam together a bit. But I didn't really start getting serious until I heard Buster B. Jones play, because I had never really heard someone play quite like him, and I never really heard much fingerstyle. So that's when I got serious. And so I just, by the time I really got into it and serious about practicing and playing, I was doing fingerstyle.
So, can you play another tool from Fingerstyle Survival Guide? And what you did in the Survival Guide was, it was pretty much 2 sections, right? In the first section, you shared a lot of the, kind of key concepts and techniques to kind of get into the style of fingerstyle, and then demonstrated a series of performance studies, would break them down. It was like a great gateway, is the word we've been using today, into the style. Do you remember another one of the tunes?
Yeah, I can play another one of the tunes. This is another one it's cool. It's got like a lot of cool banjo roll techniques. Also, this kind of like what I call a fingernail clicking type of technique. But I'll play a little bit of it. It's called Waking Up to Dreams.
Okay, cool. Such a beautiful piece.
Isn't that pretty?
Yeah, it is. You know who else we met at Chet was John Knowles. And talk about just the sweetest gentleman on the planet.
He is.
An incredible educator.
Yep,
I mean,
the master.
he is really he's like the professor of this whole fingerstyle thing, And, he came in here, he did a course with TrueFire, which did very well. And then he and Tommy came and did that guitar duets thing.
It's so cool. 2 CGPs together in one place.
Tell everyone what a CGP is.
CGP is Certified Guitar Player. And it's basically a degree that Chet Atkins gave out to very few players in the whole world. And really, it's just the cream of the crop of the best of the best of the fingerstyle players. And Tommy and John Knowles are some of the very few left that are around.
Yeah. I mean, he gave it to how many people? Like 4?
I think 4 or 5.
5, yeah. Amazing, right? At the Chet show, there were a lot of older generation folks there that had, that were fans of Chet from the beginning of time. But what also kind of amazed us was how many young people were there.
Yeah.
And these were, when you talked to the kids, they were kids to me, they were your peers. They talked about how, they grew up playing rock or heavy metal, and then they saw Tommy Emmanuel in concert, and, and that called to them, the style of fingerstyle. And your charge here has been to kind of help, I would include myself in the, flat picker, blues, rock, classic rock players that have always wanted to learn how to play fingerstyle,
Yep.
And you've been helping folks like us pick up the technique, So you did, we'll do the boom. You did 2 courses while you were here, one on Boom Chick.
Yep.
Let's save that for a little while.
Okay.
But you did 30 finger picking patterns you must know.
Yep.
Which, again, we'll use the term gateway, is a great gateway into fingerstyle. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, absolutely. So for me, it was very effective to learn patterns. That's how I really got into playing fingerstyle, was Buster B. Jones showed me a handful of all these patterns that, for one, just got my fingers moving in the right way and helped me develop sort of the essential techniques that later on in tunes were going to come up. So when I would later on learn a song like that, when I've played the Buster tune, Just Another Rag, that's got a lot of boom chick or alternating bass. And so before I ever went to try to tackle that tune, I kind of learned the underlying techniques. And so they're good because they teach you the right skills, but they're also great because they give you rhythmic patterns you can play, like an accompaniment type of thing, through a chord progression. You can even use them to sort of be the basis of a melody you might write. So the course, the 30 finger picking patterns, talks about boom chick style patterns, some Jerry Reed style patterns, banjo roll type patterns, which is what I was doing up here on that last tune. Talks about the fingernail click type patterns, some bossa nova, and some folk type patterns. So a pretty big range of stuff. I can, if you want, I can show you a couple of the ones that I worked on.
There was one I wrote down that I really liked. Alabama Wild Man was the one I took. Can you start with that?
I can start with that. So this is one of the Jerry Reed style patterns.
Okay.
And so it's very rhythmic, syncopated, kind of got a great groove to it. So maybe I'll play you a little bit of it and show you what's going on. So here's the pattern I did. Let me just show it over one chord.
Okay.
So I have an E7 chord, and even at the core of a lot of the Jerry Reed stuff is this alternating bass, this sort of like 6, 4, 5, 4. These are all quarter notes. 1, 2, 3, 4. So this particular pattern, you do the thumb on beat 1, beat 2 you do a pinch, and I'm using ring, middle, and index on the first, second, third string. So beat 1 is a thumb, then I do a pinch on beat 2. Beat 3 I'm using the thumb on the 5th string and the ring finger by itself on the 1st string. Now on the and of that beat, the upbeat is the middle and index. And this is something Jerry Reed did a lot, where he would pair either middle and index finger together or middle finger and ring finger together, which is just such a cool, like this syncopation, you get this nice double stop. So that's on the and of beat 3, and then beat 4 is the thumb, and the and of beat 4 is the ring finger. So the actual pattern goes 1, 2, 3, and 4, and 1, 2, 3, and 4, and that's the rhythm of it. And when I actually play the pattern, I'm getting 1, 2, 3, and 4, and so on its own on one chord already sounds pretty cool. So that's the sort of the core pattern. And then the next step, once you've learned the pattern just in the picking hand and sort of have it memorized, then it's a good idea to try to put it into a tune or a progression. So with the Alabama Wildman, I took that that picking pattern and just applied it to like an E blues. So you can kind of hear more of what it sounds like in a real tune, which would be this kind of thing. That's the thing too. When I would hear Dre Reed do all these really cool guitar parts that were so rhythmic, like over his singing, or maybe he's accompanying like Chet playing or something. A lot of times he's using these great patterns. So, and again, these are the things that I learned that I think really helped me just get a really good, solid technique for all kinds of fingerstyle stuff. So that's one of my favorites too.
Yeah,
I love that one.
So it's what we love about this course 30 finger picking patterns you must know is for players who just want, most players might know a Travis picking pattern or, they'll arpeggiate chords as they're playing them.
Yeah.
Once you get a few of these patterns on, it's not necessarily what we think of. It is fingerstyle, but you're not playing the melody on top. You're accompanying or just making the chords sound a lot more interesting,
Yep.
Would you then could these patterns also serve the fingerstyle player, giving them kind of a foundation then to play melodies on top of them?
Yeah, even, each pattern has like an underlying rhythm to it. And then even like the Alabama Wildman sort of thing, the pattern on its own on one chord, it sort of has a built-in melody, this da 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 da, and that a lot of that depends on what chord you're playing. Like you could play really any chord shape or chord quality, and that can that's part of the fun, I think, is take some of these patterns and then you try them out in different contexts, and that can start to develop more of a melody. But like when I did the Alabama Wildman thing, just sometimes adding an extra finger, like you sort of have a variation like this A7. If I have an open E string, I can kind of make up an alternate melody or just a different melodic line by maybe adding something like, just by adding that one note on that pinch, you can start to develop little tunes and that kind of thing and little melodies based on the pattern.
Nice.
Yeah.
Show us another pattern.
Another one. Okay, this is a cool one. It's called Melodic Groove. And this one is based around the alternating bass boom chick style. So you have a muted bass. And I'm just going to use an E minor chord. And so the bass is doing this. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Just quarter notes. And this one's cool. It has a pinch on beat 1 with just ring finger and thumb. Now the and of beat 1 is the index finger. 1 and. Thumb on the beat 2. On the and of beat 2 is the middle finger. So we have so far 1 and 2 and. Okay. Then beat 3 is the thumb again. The and of beat 3 is the ring finger. And then beat 4 is the thumb on its own. So the actual pattern goes like 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. So like this is a great pattern. I call it melodic groove because you're grooving along with this boom chick, but because of the sort of arpeggio nature of splitting up each finger on a new string, you get a built-in melody. This, like I said, that really depends on what the chord voicing you're using, the chord quality, can change the melody. So that's a cool pattern. So once again, it's a good idea you learn the pattern first with one chord, because you don't want to, there's a tendency to try to put it all together too fast. Just keep the left hand or fretting hand simple first, get the pattern down. After you spent a few days just doing that only, then you put it into a progression. So like, pattern stays the same.
Nice.
Yeah, so that's another fun one.
So again, just so everyone understands, you'll show them that you have 30 patterns.
Yep.
You'll show them a pattern, and then break the pattern down for them, and then give us an etude.
Yeah.
And the etudes are awesome. Just learning the etudes is almost like having
it's fun.
3 sets worth of tunes. If you think about it.
It's fun because I think when you plug the pattern into a progression, like that's really what the etudes are for me. Is I kind of approached it like, okay, I have a pattern. That's like the right hand part of it, and that's sort of the rhythm section, like percussive sort of drum set part is the right hand, and then really you could choose any combination of chords or progression you want, and that's part of the fun. So for me, as like approaching it, putting together the course, is I would get a good pattern down, and then I would say, okay, let's take 8 bars and like come up with a little progression that's kind of an etude. But that's just like skimming the surface. I think people can, you could use that pattern and apply it over a bunch of different tunes.
Let's show them that. I don't mean to put you on the spot, but take that same pattern.
Okay.
Lift
Brad,
the
you said you weren't
going to
do this.
No, lift the tempo a little bit, okay? And play it over a completely different progression.
Okay, cool. So I'll just make up something here.
Yep.
I'm just like, well, I'm trying not to sink. I'm trying to swim.
No.
But the key is keep this going, and then you really can't go wrong. Once you get the right hand part locked in, it should work on any type of chord. There's little things, and we talk about this in the course. You have to modify sometimes the pattern depending on the chord, but that's it right there. You can do all kinds of cool stuff.
Okay, so we've got questions coming in, and I urge all of you out there that are tuned in live now, please ask as many questions as you like. We'll try to answer as many of them as possible. Also, please chime in and tell us where you're from. What was it Tommy or Chet said? Finger pickers will take over the world. What was that?
Yes, they did an album together that was the title of the album, The Day Finger Pickers Took Over the World.
So we've got some finger pickers out there. They're going to chime in, tell us where they're from, and then you're going to shout out because you're leading the charge. Okay, we're taking over the world.
This is great.
Let's do the question is please talk about thumb independence and how to achieve it.
Yeah,
that's the big thing, finger thumb independence.
Patterns. That's how you do it. You learn the patterns. That's one of the keys of this whole 30 finger picking patterns course. As I was saying earlier, is that sometimes there's a tendency to jump into wanting to play a tune, like a fingerstyle tune, like one from the Day the Finger Pickers Took Over the World. One's called Borsalino. The tune. So if I just try to jump into doing that, I've never developed the thumb and finger independence. It's really difficult. So patterns are a great way because you instead of taking a whole tune, which can be daunting, you have the left hand to think about, switching chords, the right hand, the entire melody. You take a pattern, which is just a short, like 1 bar thing. And I think 15 of the patterns from the course all use some kind of alternating bass. So that's actually a constant thing that stays the same through each pattern is the alternating bass for a large section of them. But what you do that's different are the fingers. I mean, a really great way to just start doing it is first, you got to get the alternating bass pattern with your thumb, like a G chord. If I just get this 6, 4, 5, 4. I mean, even step one is just take a metronome and click right along with the metronome, just doing the alternating bass. No fingers. Okay, the next step that's great to do is add a pinch on one beat. So, Brad, you choose a beat 1 through 4. What
3.
beat? 3. So then you tell yourself, okay, I'm going to keep the thumb going on the quarter notes, but I'm going to pinch, and I like to use all 3 fingers, ring, middle, and index on the top 3. I'm going to pinch on beat 3 only. Same chord though, so I start with the thumb, 1, 2, 3, 4. Now I'm going to add in the pinch. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2. And it might sound simple, but if you've never done that, it's almost impossible to keep both going if you've never done it. That's why you got to build up to playing the songs. And so patterns are a great way. So I like to just work on adding a pinch on any beat. Okay, and then after I do that, then I pinch on 2 beats. So, okay, Brad, what are 2 other beats?
How about 2 and 3?
2 and 3. Okay, so then you do the same thing. You take just one chord, keep it simple with this hand. So you're just doing the thumb, 1, 2, 3, 4. So I'm going to pinch on beats 2 and 3. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1. And you just want to basically loop it because you're trying to develop a lot of what fingerstyle is about is the dexterity and sort of motor skills of how do you get these things to work together. Then later on, I would say, start to add in like a syncopation. So maybe I go like 1, 2, 3, and 4. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Or a pattern like that melodic groove where you have the thumb playing, but now you have the fingers playing in between the beats, not just pinching on one beat. So that's the way I think you develop thumb independence is you start simple with just the thumb, you learn to keep that going, and then you just like a little bit at a time you take in the fingers. You don't just dive into learning a full-blown tune. It's too much at once, but you just learn like systematically how to get the fingers and thumb to work together.
Cool.
And then it's, I hate to say it, but it's a lot of practice and repetition.
Yeah. I mean, is it, the term muscle memory, right?
Yeah.
I mean, do you get to the point where you're not thinking about, oh, I'm going to do this. Your fingers are doing the talking for you, kind of.
Yeah.
Or the thinking for you.
Absolutely right. That's where you get to eventually. And that's a really good point, actually, because so much of fingerstyle guitar playing, and this is not a bad thing, is muscle memory, and the tunes are played the same every time, for the most part. I mean, that's how I play all my tunes, for the most part, is that, I spend a lot of time either learning someone else's tune or writing a song, and then I work hard to practice that so that I can sort of execute it and play it the same way every time. Like I said, it's not a bad thing that it's the same every time. And you can vary things like with the phrasing, the speed, the kind of dynamics and tone. But I'm glad you said that because that's really the nature of a lot of fingerstyle stuff is the muscle memory. Or anything you got to, versus something like improvising on a jazz tune, maybe you've never played that solo. But if you're going to play some standard fingerpicking tune, hopefully you've practiced it and played it before,
Right.
So,
Good answer, man. So we're taking over the world, and we've got folks chimed in right now from Virginia, Chicago, Key West, Oklahoma, India, Rome, Italy, Mexico, Montreal, Belgium, Bosnia, Sweden, Bolivia, Texas, Iowa, and Scotland.
Wow.
And
So cool.
Lucca and Bologna, Italy as well. So we're starting to put the soldiers together.
Yeah.
They've all got guitars. Now they've learned a couple of patterns, Why don't you pick a tune? Let's take a tune break. Just play anything. Play one of your tunes. I love your tunes.
Sure. Okay, I'll do a different tune that's kind of, I don't know, one that comes to mind that's cool that I wrote, maybe 2 years ago. And it's kind of more of a chord melody. doesn't have a lot of actually alternating bass, so something different. But anyways, this is a tune that I wrote. I sure hope I can play it. It's called, what is this called? Silver Stride.
Beautiful.
Ouch.
You have like this in a lot of your own material. I love your range. You know, you go from
Thanks, Brad.
traditional, very classic, boom, chick, you know, all the different kind of fingerstyle styles.
Yeah.
And then your own style is very, there's a jazz thing. It's very, but not crazy jazz. It's beautiful, man. Really beautiful. Have you
Thank you.
studied jazz?
Some stuff with jazz. I mean, what happened is I studied for so long with Buster B. Jones for maybe 7 or 8 years, and so much of the stuff with Buster was right hand techniques, from very simple stuff to very advanced right hand techniques, and learning tunes. But I never learned. Well, first of all, that was incredible to learn in that way, and especially with Buster, he was such a great teacher, and he had a great range of stuff he could do and would write. He was such a great writer. But when I worked with Buster, we never really talked much about harmony or chords or like left-hand stuff, and definitely not anything about jazz. And later on, I studied after I studied with Buster, I studied for a few years with a great player named Bill Harkleroad when I was in Eugene, Oregon, and he was the guitar player for the Captain Beefheart band, and just a phenomenal teacher there in Oregon. And so when I started studying with Bill, we didn't really talk at all about fingerstyle or even tunes. He immediately, started showing me more about sort of theory and harmony, and here's how chords work, here's how you can build chords. And so I guess in that sense, it was learning a little bit about sort of jazz and pop harmony. And so that really opened up all of a sudden. And then it's like, I was really strong on the right hand. And then all of a sudden I started to get better and better with this hand and putting them together. That's when I started writing a lot of cool stuff with more jazzier voicings and chord progressions and stuff. And then the last 3.5 years, I just got done studying at Berklee College of Music. So there I studied more and more kind of jazz and pop harmony, which was awesome.
Nice.
Yeah, so I mean, I don't consider myself, like that tune is sort of jazzy as a solo guitar thing, but I'm not much of a great jazz player with anyone else but myself.
Well, that's plenty.
Yeah, I just do my own thing, so
That's plenty.
I'm happy with that.
You want to do a couple of questions from folks?
Please, yeah.
Okay, so one of the questions is with a rag. Stephen asks, when you play a rag, do you keep the same pattern in the picking hand?
Well, that sort of depends on the tune. Like if you're, for example, like you had some rag, and to be honest, I don't know a lot of rags, any famous ones or anything, but if you were to just repeat the same picking pattern, you probably wouldn't achieve the melody, that the song was written over. But you could maybe write your own rag or something where you keep the picking pattern the same. The thing that does stay the same, most likely, and constant is probably your thumb. This boom, chick, boom, chick. The thumb pattern is probably going to stay constant, but that depends on the melody. I mean, if the melody just repeats every bar or 2 bars, maybe then you can just do the same pattern over and over, but I would depend on the tune and the melody of that tune.
Cool. CS asks, will you show some harp type examples?
Harp, yeah, the harp harmonics. I'm guessing that's what he's talking about, and he or she. And yes, absolutely. So that's a whole nother technique in itself, and that's one that I went through in a lot of depth in the fingerstyle survival guide. But the type of sound he's talking about is this. That kind of thing. So the same thing, you want to learn this technique in bits and pieces. And really it's about like in a structured way, learning the way to do it. What the harp harmonic technique does for fingerstyle is so cool because if you use 2 hands to play harmonics, like on the 12th fret or 7th fret or 5th fret, that's one of Tommy's really cool licks. That is such a cool sound, right? But you need both hands, and it only works in specific keys with those open strings. So Chet Atkins and Lenny Breau and Tommy Emmanuel and a lot of great players have now pioneered so much with this harp harmonic technique where it'll work in any key with any chord virtually. And most of it is done with the picking hand technique. So I can show you a little bit about it. What you got to do is you take your pointer finger, and I like to practice it with nothing on the left hand. Just give my left hand a break. I'm looking at the 12th fret right here on my guitar. And here is the actual like metal fret. Here's fret 11, here's fret 13, here's 12. So that actual metal fret, if you're fretting with your finger, you usually don't push fret there, you push in between. But what we want to do is take the pointer finger on the picking hand, and that's just going to basically touch down on the string. For me, I'm at like a 45-degree angle, and part of that is my really long fingernails. I have to be about that angle not to touch with the fingernail. But you just barely put a little bit of pressure on the string. You don't push down, you just touch it. And then what you do is you take your thumb, and it's hiding behind you can't see it. But it's kind of this sort of thing. Is I want to do a downstroke with my thumb. I try to keep as much distance between the finger and the thumb as I can. I don't want them to be this close. I want to give it spread out. So the thumb's sort of tucked back here. It's going to do a downstroke, and that's what's going to actually pluck the string. So the first finger here is touching the string, and then I'm plucking. You get that nice, and actually what you get is here's the actual low E note, but you're going to hear the note up here, an octave higher when you do this. So the first step in getting the harp harmonic is you just take the open strings on the 12th fret and you work on different patterns. It's actually, again, it's about kind of getting good with patterns and coordination. So I like to just practice maybe going all the way up the strings. So E string, A string, and then descending. So you have to spend quite a bit of time. You want to let those notes sustain. If you're even off by a few millimeters, you'll get this kind of thing. Tick, tick, tick.
Yeah.
So
not
you
cool.
really have to, yeah, not what we're going for. You really have to spend time to just get accurate, at getting a good, clean tone. So this stays straight, you barely touch, and then you do a downstroke with the thumb tucked back in here.
Okay.
So that's like the first level to get down. Okay. I would say the next step is you learn to what I call trace a chord. So the reason I'm on the 12th fret is that whatever's going on with the left hand, you need to sort of trace and mirror that 12 frets higher with this index finger. So the reason I'm on just 12 is because I just have it open. It's like this, the nut down here. Let's say I had like an E major chord and I want to do the harmonics. I sort of have to imagine or visualize that same shape, 12 frets higher, and that's where I'm going to touch. Whatever I'm doing down here, 12 frets higher up here. So for the E chord, in order to actually get those harmonics to come out, I've got to do the 12th fret with the low E. This is the 14th fret. Again, it's the 14th because here I'm fretting 2, so 12 frets higher would be 14. Same thing in the next string. So that's sort of the second step, is you have to get good at take any chord you want to play, probably in this range. If you get too high up here, then you're doing it with no frets to look at, and it's really hard to do. You can do it, but I would say to start somewhere low. So, take an E chord, take an A minor chord, and just practice tracing it. Okay, so that's like the second step. Now, when you actually go to do a pattern, you hear Lenny Breau or Chet Atkins or Tommy Emmanuel do this, they add in 1, sometimes 2 or 3 other fingers on the right hand. So here's the way to get into doing that. I like to use the ring finger. And what happens now is we're actually going to play a note with the ring finger. It's keep this straight, keep the thumb tucked back, and the ring finger is kind of down here, tucked. It's kind of picking at the same angle you normally would pick. It takes a while to get used to how that feels. And when I look down, you can't see, this is the looking from underneath. I got my index finger out here, thumb in the middle, and ring finger on the other side of the thumb. So what I'm going to do is actually alternate. I'll pick an open string, like the D string, and then the harmonic. So it's an alternation. Open, like with a pick, with the ring finger, harmonic. Then you move that up the string set. So you go like this. Then move up 1 string. Then move up. And when you put that together, you get this really beautiful harp sound. So when you learn to add in that first finger, don't do anything on the left hand first. Just keep it simple on the 12th fret. Okay, then later on you come in and you say, okay, I want to play a chord. Remember, your harmonics have to be traced. Whatever's happening here, 12 frets higher. So the E chord would be. And then as you get more advanced, I'll stop. This will be my last thing about this because I can go on forever. What makes the harmonic sound so cool, when I hear John Knowles do it and Tommy Emmanuel and Lenny Breau, is that oftentimes if they're going to double a note, like for example, I pluck this note, that's E. Now when I play the harmonic, it's the same pitch. Nothing wrong with it. It still sounds cool. And later on I have a B, and then another B, and then a high E, and another E. So I have all these notes that are doubled. This is a triad, means it's only 3 notes. So where you can start to really get more out of this concept is when you play a little bit juicier chord that has more different notes in it. And that doesn't always mean it's better, just because it has more notes, but it seems to sound really cool. So instead of just playing this E triad, if I play this chord, okay, check out how this sounds. Versus, nothing wrong with the E, but I mean, this is like really rich. that's kind of the next trick too, is you start to consider what you're doing with the left hand. So that's a little bit of the harp harmonic.
That is probably the best lesson on that we have in the entire library.
Oh, good.
That's worth the price of admission
There's
alone
another
in this live thing.
I did a live thing for my apartment for you guys probably over a year ago, and it's all in harp harmonics. So it's on YouTube.
Nice.
But it's like an hour and a half of just
and
that
you
stuff.
cover harmonics in Survival Guide
Survival
as
Guide,
well,
yep.
right?
That's one of the concepts.
Yeah. So one of the questions is, let's see, Konstantin from Moscow. First off, says hello. And
Hello, Konstantin.
I practice with Brooke's course, and it's great. And the question is, which of your courses do you think someone should start with first?
Probably one of these newer ones we've just done in the last few days. I think if someone's never, if they're starting in fingerstyle, probably the patterns course would be a great one. Because again, that helps you sort of develop the skills you're going to need to play tunes. I mean, the fingerstyle survival guide is also good, but it's more advanced, and it's kind of bounces all around. It talks about chords. So probably the 30 finger picking patterns. Which
so if someone's never played fingerstyle before, but they want to get into that game, actually, both of the courses you did this week, we'll talk about Boom Chick in a minute, would be good for them. However, if you're already playing a little fingerstyle or already doing a little finger picking, then it's the Survival Guide. And the second one was you did a Boom Chick Etudes, right?
Boom Chick Etudes,
was the second
10 tunes.
So actually, Zach put up, there's a promo code for your courses.
Nice.
Brooks Live. Let me make sure I have that right. You might want to make a note on it. It's for a limited time. Brooks Live, BROOKSLIVE, will give you 25% off, the two original courses.
Awesome.
And the new ones will, come on pre-order shortly, probably in another 45 days or so. And there's usually a nice promo code or discount on the pre-orders as well. Cool. Well, let's talk about Boom Chick.
Okay.
What is Boom Chick?
That's a good question. And I've been doing my best to talk about it. Really, at the core of the Boom Chick style is the alternating bass pattern, which we looked at a little bit, right? This kind of... That's Boom Chick right there, that sound. Boom Chick, Boom Chick. And it's all generated by the thumb. I think for me, when I really think about Boom Chick, I always tend to think about muffled or muted bass strings. So this is an alternating pattern. It's still Boom Chick, Boom Chick. And I can do the same thing, but as soon as I mute the bass, to me, that's more of the Boom Chick sound, is the muted bass. Now, there are probably great arguments that they're both Boom Chick, or one isn't. But to me, it's alternating bass with the muted bass strings, okay? Which is you mute back, you take this part of your palm and you set it on the bass strings that your thumb's playing. And you basically, instead of having the sustaining, you have this muffled and muted sound. Okay. The other thing is that I like to really emphasize beats 2 and 4, which is called the backbeat, which is like, on a nice regular drum groove. And 4/4, they often hit the snare on that backbeat.
Right.
So we're really going. We really want to kind of drive beats 2 and 4, helps you have a really nice groove. So when I'm doing like what I think of Boom Chick, I'm really muffling the bass and I'm driving through the 4th string, sometimes so much that I'm brushing up and hitting like the 3rd string, maybe even the 2nd string. But you could also be very articulate, and that's still Boom Chick. So it's really alternating bass, muted, and then you're going to add some kind of melody on top of that.
And the masters of the technique are folks like
Merle Travis. I mean, he did so much with thumb and just index finger. Chet Atkins, of course, Jerry Reed, Tommy Emmanuel, Tom Bresch. Oh my gosh, so many players. Buster B. Jones, Jerry Reed. I mean, to me, some of Buster and Jerry's stuff still is related to Boom Chick because it has the alternating bass going on. It might not always be muffled. Both Buster and Jerry did something where they they take their right hand and they actually anchor it on the top of the guitar. And so you get a little bit of muffling there. And they would always do the alternating bass, just kind of in a different method, but especially the earlier guys, Merle Travis, Chet Atkins. That's really where it all came from.
Cool.
So, I mean, I can show you, maybe, Brad, you want me to show one of the tunes from the Boom Chick course?
Absolutely.
Okay. So we did, while I was here, I also did a Take 5 course with the Boom Chick style. And one of the things that's kind of cool is if you practice the patterns first, like earlier we talked about pinching on 2 different beats. And I just want to show this is kind of cool. You can take something like a pattern and then turn it into a tune, even in the Boom Chick style. So one of the tunes from the Boom Chick course is you play a pattern where you pinch on beats 1 and 4. So this kind of thing: 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. Okay, and again, Boom Chick. I'm muting the bass. It's got that good groove. So you can even take a pattern in that Boom Chick style and write a tune out of it. So this is one of the tunes. I think this is number 2 from the course. Is like this. So again, it's got a melody built in there, and it's based off of that Boom Chick style pattern. And you can get even more complex. That's really where the Essentials course I did on Boom Chicks, which I taught 10 tunes, that's a little more. It's a little more advanced than the Take 5, because now we're taking some public domain tunes and some other songs I wrote, and the whole basis there is you keep the thumb going boom chick, and you play a melody on top of it.
Play one of the tunes from the Etudes
The
course.
Etudes?
Yeah,
Okay.
which is one of the second course you did here and is available today.
Yeah.
Pick one.
Okay. There's one on there that I really like. It's called West Coast Wagon.
Okay.
There's no Boom Chick in there yet. This is the intro.
Beautiful.
But you got that boom chick the whole time, pretty much, except for a few little breaks where you go. But the idea is this really, the boom chick is what helps drive the tune and provide the groove.
Ready for some questions?
Yeah, I think so.
All right. So let's see. You ever play fingerstyle on an archtop guitar?
Yeah, I have before. I have in Oregon, back home in Oregon, I have at my parents' house. It's in the closet. Buster gave me one of his guitars when I was about 16. That's a Gibson. It's a Gibson archtop, and I think it's an ES 125. I don't think anything about it is original anymore. It's been all redone.
Yeah.
But it's got a great. I think it's like a P90 pickup, and I actually really know nothing about electric guitars, but I think that's what it is. Or and it sounds great with fingerstyle and boomchick. I mean, I love playing that guitar. Sometimes I notice with the arch tops that, I mean, most of them have this really high bridge. And so the strings are sometimes higher off the top than a flat top like this. So you do have to sort of get used to modifying your hand a little bit to play it, but I love playing fingerstyle on an arch top and plan to do more of it.
Yeah, and certainly the jazzy type of would sound
It works really well on there. And any kind of the boomchick, Chet Atkins, Merle Travis stuff sounds good on the arch top.
Next question from Jason. Would using a pick still work with middle and ring finger, or should I work on using a thumb pick? And there's another question from Scott. Is the thumb pick absolutely necessary?
Okay, both really good questions. So the first question about a flat pick, you can, let me go off camera here. There's a flat pick here, and I never really use a flat pick just because I use a thumb pick all the time. You can use a flat pick and hold it between your thumb and index finger, right? And you can still go boom, chick, boom, chick, boom, chick. No, I don't think I'm able to actually do this. It's humanly possible, but you could. You could actually play boom chick style and finger style stuff and use these fingers. Yes, of course. My hand doesn't want to do it because I've really never practiced that. But absolutely, I mean, there are a lot of great sort of telly players and like chicken picking type stuff where people use the flat pick between the thumb and index finger, and then they use these two fingers. And to be honest, you could, good luck doing this, but you could develop the strength in this finger and do the same kind of like patterns like. So yeah, you could definitely do it. I can't really do it, but it's possible. And the next question about using the thumb pick, you can definitely play so much fingerstyle stuff and boomchick without a thumb pick for sure. Part of the reason that I use it is that's just how I got started with Buster. He just said, okay, take this, you're going to use it all the time.
Put it on.
Yeah. And so you get used to playing one way or the other. I know for a lot of students that I've worked with, it's hard for them if they've never used a thumb pick.
Yeah.
As soon as they put it on, it feels so foreign and feels like, oh, this feels awkward. It takes time to get used to how it feels. One advantage is that, especially with muffling the bass, the pick sticks out perpendicular to your thumb, so you can really dig into the bass strings while you muffle. Whereas if you muffle without it, this part of your thumb is pretty much parallel to the string. You can't really dig in as much, but you can still do it. I mean, I could play that same tune. But it really doesn't have the same drive and groove as.
Right.
Because really the thumb is such an important player. So you can use it. I mean, I sort of always say you want to be able to use it, you want to be able to try it without it.
What about when you're playing like single note lines? Do you use the thumb pick as kind of like a flat picker would use?
Yes, you can use the thumb pick like a flat pick. You want to make sure that you always hold it like a flat pick, because sometimes if you don't, it'll fly off if you do an upstroke. This particular pick I use is made by the Fred Kelly pick company, and one of the things I like is that it's symmetrical, and so you can downstroke and upstroke very well with it. Some thumb picks are asymmetrical, so when you go to do it like an upstroke, it just gets caught. So yes, I definitely am able to. You can use it like a flat pick. A lot of people too that use a thumb pick, like one of my favorite fingerstyle players, Jim Nichols, he's just incredible, and he can go from playing Chet style to just amazing Wes Montgomery sort of stuff.
He can.
And what he does a lot too is he'll alternate like thumb, index. So, so he's using thumb and index, so you can do that kind of thing as well. Yeah.
Cool. Let's see. Does Brooks have any kind of daily practice routine, and any tips for staying on top of a broad repertoire? It's tough to practice everything enough. I find the rust always sets in somewhere. How do you stay up on your repertoire, especially with all the fly fishing you're doing?
Yeah, that's been detrimental.
Which,
to my
by the
repertoire.
way, Jeff Sheets, our director of education, has chimed in here.
Oh, good. Hey, Jeff.
He's less interested in your harmonics technique and asked the question, how is the fishing in Montana?
It's been good. It's been good. Well, with the practicing the repertoire, I mean, to be honest, I struggle with the same thing. I'm by no means like have a perfect practice routine.
Mm-hmm.
There are tons of things I want to improve on that I don't always get around to practicing. In terms of songs, though, like for me, I think the biggest thing is that I try to just play tunes, and I try to play tunes that I've learned, primarily just to keep them up in my hand so that I don't forget them.
Mm-hmm.
But it's fun, of course, to play songs, right? So I like sitting down like for a couple hours, and I'll just play tune after tune after tune.
Mm-hmm.
Now, those again are tunes I've already practiced. I've already
Mm-hmm.
learned how to play. Structuring practice sessions, though, I mean, when I've been diligent about it and have been good, I try to make a list of, okay,
Mm-hmm.
what are the things I want to work on? And I try to take my session, if I'm practicing for an hour, I try to kind of split it up a little bit. I'm going to spend 20 minutes on this, 20 minutes on this. However, there have been times where maybe it's a priority, like, okay, I have a recital coming up or a concert,
Mm-hmm.
and I got to learn this tune.
Mm-hmm.
Then I will just dedicate the whole session to, what's important to learn right now.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, whatever you can do, I think as long as you have a guitar in your lap and you're practicing, that's better than not having it in your hand, than being
Right.
out fly fishing, right?
Right.
So, and that being said, I mean, sometimes it's good to take a break, of course.
Mhm.
And good to map out, I think, occasionally, no matter what style you play, every now and then check in with yourself and what are your goals and how are you what are the things you're going to work on? What courses from TrueFire are you going to work on to get
There
to those
you go.
goals?
I love the gratuitous advertising. I'm going to do the same for you in a moment. Man, we're running a little over.
Okay.
Really appreciate it. You have a lot of fans out there.
This
man.
is so cool.
All around the world. So we're building the finger picking army. You have to tell everyone. You've gotten a lot of great compliments about the Collins.
Yeah.
We love that company
Yep.
and those people and those guitars. Can you talk about yours?
Absolutely. So this is my Collings. It's an OM2H, and I've had this thing, well, probably 6 or 7 years now. I swear every day it sounds better. And it's just great. I use, it's set up pretty low. I try to, it's not too low that it buzzes all the time. Sometimes if I really dig in, it buzzes. I mean, I have inside of it an LR Bags Anthem pickup. I think that's what it is. Anthem. Yes, it's an Anthem pickup in here. And then in terms of strings too, I like just using Elixir strings.
Mm-hmm.
Some
gauge?
Some people love them, some people hate them, but
Okay.
they work for me. These are 12 through 53.
Okay.
So I think
Is that
they're
typical for you? 12s?
light, medium, light. Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
I usually don't go much. Sometimes I've used a set that's like a custom light or something where it's 12 on top and 56 or something is the low string, but pretty much I just go 12 to 53 like light strings, and that's kind of my setup. But like I said before too, I use the Fred Kelly picks for the thumb pick. This is called a slick pick. It's made of a material called Delrin, and this is the heavy gauge. I like the thicker pick just because of the tone. And it
Nice.
also, one thing I found, I use this thumb pick and I use acrylic fingernails too, which I think helps me get the tone I want and sort of accuracy. But it seems to, my pick and my fingernail are kind of the same thickness and shape. So I get a really nice balanced tone between the thumb and fingers.
Nice.
Yeah, but the Collings, this thing gets better every day.
Beautiful. And it's just sounds great last couple of days. I guess you won't be leaving that behind then, huh?
No, it's going to come with me.
How about tuning up? I'd love play that Buster B tune that
Live at 5?
that I first heard you play.
Okay.
And while you're tuning up, I'll I'll give you a gratuitous advertisement,
All right.
okay? So you've got the fingerstyle survival guide, the first course Brooks did here, and then you have the essential etudes, Boom Chick etudes. Both of them available now. Take advantage of that Brooks Live discount. And anybody that's in the fingerstyle or finger picking game already, you'll find those incredibly a great resource for you. Brooks covers a lot of ground. For those of you that are interested in learning, getting into finger picking and fingerstyle, as Brooks said, the 2 new courses we did this week are your ticket, and they'll be on pre-order within 45 to 60 days. So look out for those. You ready? First of all, thank everybody around the world for tuning in.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you all so much. And this was so much fun to get to answer some of your questions, and thanks for your support and tuning in. And thank you, Brad,
they asked
too.
some pretty good questions, didn't they?
They did, yeah. I'm glad
they
were ones I could field.
And I'd like to thank everyone for tuning in and supporting these live broadcasts by it. I say this every time because it amazes me every time. If you think about where folks are from, the time zones and the continents are from, it's the middle of the night. It's the middle of the morning. It's breakfast, lunch, dinner.
Yep.
And, it just shows you what a strong, passionate community we get to be a part of,
It's so cool.
Guitar music, man. So this is the first song I heard Brooks play. It's a Buster B tune, right?
Yep, it's called Live at 5.
Take us out, man.
Okay, cool. I'll do as much of it as I can do. There it is. Thank you, Brad.